This is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks. With your hosts, Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. This is the Stick Blade Podcast. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. It is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings, all things Chicago Blackhawks, and general news around the NHL. On tonight's show, we're going to be a little bit light on league news, but you know what? The Wings and the Hawks have a little bit to talk about this week. In particular, for the Chicago Blackhawks, we're going to be talking about the fact that, they've acquired Vinnie Hinostroza back for their club, the fact that Wallmark clears waivers, the signing of Isaac Phillips on his entry-level contract, I believe his fifth rounder from your guys' 2020 draft, he gets started. And I mean, just sort of, what's going on with your club this week in the news and in general. And then on the Red Wings side of the podcast, we're going to talk about the fact that Evgeny Svechnikov clears waivers again. The fact that, the effort level in Detroit, even though they did not win a lot of games this week, the effort level kept those games close, and which is something that Detroit has really struggled with, is consistently keeping close games. And also the fact that a lot of the young guys for Detroit have actually looked really good. I sing his praises, I feel like, every other week, but Giovanni Smith, the
Love
kid,
it.
I like him a lot. And then Michael Rasmussen has continued to, show he's taking steps forward. A lot of fans were kind of questionable on the pick when he went and got picked, I believe, 9th overall. But you know what? The kid's taking steps forward, which is what you got to accept in these rebuild years. But after all of that, we're going to do what's called the flashback and the flash forward. We talk about the week that was and the week that's coming up for both the Blackhawks and the Red Wings. And then we're going to close out the podcast by talking about the fact that, half of the Vancouver Canucks roster has tested COVID positive, and not just asymptomatic positives where you're like, I don't really feel it, just legit symptoms, legit sickness. And then also just the fact that Shane Gostisbehere goes through the waiver system a couple of years back, really a highly touted defenseman who looked to be by all intents purposes, long-term defenseman for the Philadelphia Flyers. And just, it's kind of weird to talk about that and the fact that nobody claimed him even. So I just kind of want to talk about that for a second. But with all that being said, I am your host for tonight, Jordan Linscott, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Tim Stompanato and Nick LePage. David should be coming in at some point tonight, but we're going to go ahead and just roll the show until he gets here. In the meantime, how are you guys doing tonight?
It's good. Always a good night recording with the boys. So, happy to be here. Happy to talk some Hawks and, happy to talk about our new member of the Chicago Blackhawks here in a second.
I'm so hyped. I'm so excited to talk about Vinny. Loving the Seattle hat, by the way, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. Always good to see that repping in preparation for the expansion draft.
Yeah, just got to be hyped, new team, new league, new season coming up. But, yeah, we got we're pushing for the playoffs here. Can't hop on the bandwagon for Seattle quite yet, but no.
Yeah, we're still on our bandwagon.
Yeah. So, let's get this thing cooking, eh?
Let's do it.
So David's not here right now, so I don't want to start with the Wings news. So let's go ahead and just start with the Blackhawks side of this podcast, since you guys are both here right now. First piece of news: the Blackhawks acquired Vinnie Hinostroza this week. What do you guys think this is for the club?
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be, all these meatball fans on Twitter or Facebook or like Stan's going to stand, bringing back a former player. Yeah, Vinnie Hinostroza is the type of guy you want to bring back. He has that work ethic. He like we talked about Brandon Hagel, how he just gets in the corners and fights for pucks. That's Vinnie Hinostroza, a little different style play, more creative, probably more of a playmaker. But I mean, he's one of those guys that you could float up and down the lineup. You could play him on any line and he's going to work. He didn't work in Florida because he barely played. He was on the fourth line when he did. So yeah, I mean, and this just gives. I mean, we'll get into this point probably in a little bit, but now it's looking like you have options to move a Matthias Janmark at the deadline or Carl Soderberg with a guy like Vinnie Hinostroza joining the lineup. So he played under Colleton's system in Rockford, and he's familiar with some of these guys. So yeah, you traded Brad Morrison. There's nothing to be ashamed of. He's a $1 million contract hit.
Well, right. That's exactly it. We gave up Brad Morrison, who we got when we shipped off Olimata to the Kings. So it was a cap dump. We weren't actually getting a player back that we were high on.
Mhm.
And Brad Morrison split the season between the AHL and the ECHL. The fact that we theoretically got Vinny on a very good buy low opportunity because he wasn't utilized in Florida. He had 0 goals, 0 assists. This was probably his worst year in the NHL. But that said, we gave up, no offense to Brad Morrison, we didn't really give anything up. He wasn't going to play in the club. And what we get back is a potential depth piece. You're right. Nick, you made a great point. This allows us flexibility to move on from Janmark, move on from Soderberg, get some picks for them. And what it also does is just provides us with a little more flexibility. If we're playing a high speed, high energy team, put Vinnie Hinostroza in the lineup, add a little bit of speed, add a little bit of that creativity that you talked about. Put somebody else in when we're playing a really heavy physical team that we've got to match up with. This is exactly the kind of move we should be making. We shouldn't be making big, bold trade deadline acquisitions. We had that in Doc coming back. Yep. We shouldn't be selling everybody off either. He's a UFA at the end of the year. He's on the end of his contract. If we like him, we re-sign him. If not, we move on. We brought back a familiar face, which I get it. It's so easy to make the joke because Stan does this every year. But in this one, it's not like he's 35 and we gave up, a second round pick to bring him back for one last hurrah. This is a legitimate move with a guy that we know works and has a familiarity with our current coach. I'm hyped to have him back.
Yeah, I mean, and also, like the people are complaining, yeah, it's another guy, but we already have guys that can play that role. He's not blocking anyone.
No.
Reese Johnson and Matthew Highmore have been in and out of the lineup all season long, and this just gives you more of a stable player to throw in your lines. Like, he's familiar with everything. He's skilled. You're getting an NHL level talented player in return for a guy that was in the ECHL. So, I mean, just 2 years ago, he came off a career high in points in Arizona, 39 points. He had 16 goals, 23 assists. He's talented. He's a great player, and he's going to fill a role, and I'm excited to have him back. And, he's a Chicago boy too, so it's good to have him back home.
You got to love that. Very, very hyped. Glad to see him back in a Hawks sweater.
I mean, the thing is, like, I've seen a lot of Hawks fans, like you guys said, saying, "Oh, Stan's gonna stand," but this is what I call a domino move. Like, you literally it's a move that's made so that you can make other moves happen later down the line. I mean, like you guys said, worst case scenario, he's a UFA after the season, and you decide, no, we don't really want to re-sign him. Like, literally, this move does not hurt your roster at all. It doesn't block anybody. And the other thing is also, you acquired an NHL level guy. Let's say you decide you want to move on from somebody in your system right now and you want to keep him around long term. This move literally lets you have that flexibility. Like, there's literally no negative at all for this move.
No.
Yeah, and he could be a piece for next year too. Like, we don't know what he is right now. He's here right now, and if we like him, he could be back next year on a nice contract. So, what's there to hate?
Yeah, honestly, I love our fan base so very much. I'm just as guilty as everybody else. But there's a pocket that if Stan brought back Teuvo Teravainen, people would say, "Oh, I should have never got rid of him to begin with. Way to go, Stan. Why not Panarin?" Like, and again, I also do the same thing sometimes. So, like, we're passionate, but sometimes you just got to pause and go, what did we lose? What can we gain?
Yeah, I mean, and you go down the list. There's a reason why people kind of like bash Stan for bringing back. Like, here's a list of people Stan had brought back: Brian Campbell, Daniel Carcillo, Adam Clendenning, Nikolai Javibulin, Marcus Kruger, Andrew Ladd, Jeremy Morin, Johnny Aduya, Brandon Fury, Brandon Saad, Patrick Sharp, Andrew Shaw, Chris Versteeg, and now you add Vinnie Hinostroza to that. But the whole reason why we got rid of him was so Arizona would take Hosa's contract. So it was not
him and Osterley.
Yeah, it was not a piece that Stan necessarily wanted to lose to begin with.
Another piece of news on the Hawks side of the podcast, Wallmark ends up clearing the waivers for you guys. Surprise or no? Because I think that at least one team would have taken a flyer on him.
I messed up on that earlier. He just got put on waivers today, so that's on me.
Did you get put? Okay.
Yes, but yeah, I mean,
I mean, as of right now, he still hasn't been claimed yet, though.
Yeah, I think he's gonna clear just because there's really, I'm sure that the Hawks have looked into trading him and no bites. So, kind of shocked. No, not shocked that he got waived, but it's just like I was high on Lucas Wallmark coming into the season. And as we were talking pre-show, Tim, but this is a good problem to have because we had him penciled in as like our third line center.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have guys like Pius Suter and Philip Kershaw just taking a big step forward. And, it kind of sucks that it didn't work out, but that just means we have better problems to deal with. And these young guys are working out.
Well, I mean, there's so many moves that you make in the off season trying to prepare and shore up because you can't plan. You want guys to take that step forward, but you don't know. There's no guarantee if their progress, they're going to be ready. I mean, look at Mackenzie Entwistle and Evan Barrett and them are still cooking in the AHL. Reese Johnson has been up and down, not quite there yet to crack that roster. We were both incredibly high on Kurashev, and Pius Suter was a fascinating prospect ahead of time. But if you're Stan signing Janmark, Wallmark, Soderberg, you have to, especially with not having Tays. And again, hindsight's 2020. I don't remember if we signed Wallmark before or after Tays went down or Doc. Okay. But you have to have those plans. You have to have guys that you can say, if nobody pans out, we can still field what is a competitive roster. And both of us liked Wallmark. We thought he was a sneaky good acquisition. Yeah. We were more excited for him than Janmark, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's funny how the world works now.
I don't know if he just didn't click with Colleton or if it didn't click with the lineup or if other guys just outperformed him, or at least in the roles that he would be filling. Maybe on that bottom six, a guy like Highmore or a guy, they fit a little better for that style than Wallmark. Who knows? I don't think he gets picked up. We were just talking before. I think with the flat cap, I think nobody wants to risk taking on more money right now.
Yeah, it's tough with waivers this season because, again, you're getting a small sample size in Lucas Wallmark. I don't think he's seen much ice time. He hasn't recorded a point since January. So
yeah,
there's no reason to claim him.
I feel really bad for him because he signed with us to sort of build like Janmark did. Janmark doesn't even hide it. He said, I signed a 1-year contract to build up my value, and whether that's here or somewhere else, that's what I'm doing right now. I mean, Janmark, the whole thing, we really expected him to be a third line guy. And I would say that that's probably the most disappointing part of this season for me, in a season where we had no expectations. Having him not pan out or not whatever. I hope that if somebody does pick him up, they can use him. I hope that maybe we're able to trade him, or, God forbid we need him, he's available.
And then the last piece of Hawks news that I have on the schedule is tonight, the Hawks have signed Isaac Phillips, the 2025th rounder, to his entry-level contract, and I believe it goes through, the end of 2023? Sorry, kids, I'm bad at math. I
was like, I'm not a math magician either. So, but I think that's accurate. I'm excited because he would have been playing in the CHL this year, but because that was shut down with COVID for the most part, he was able to play in the AHL, and he held his own. He had good ice time. He was able to he didn't look out of place. Talk about a guy who would not have had that opportunity and got a remarkable one-off opportunity and ran with it. And he got his first contract. Couldn't be more excited for the kid.
Yeah. I'm starting to see the trend too. A lot of these 2020 picks are starting to get signed like real quick. And I think that's just to get them like onto their AHL or able to control them because of COVID right now. But I've seen a few teams already starting to sign their mid to late round 2020 picks. So yeah, I'm excited too, though. He's looked fine in Rockford. He's held his own. He's playing ahead of his schedule. He should be in the C right now. And, contract doesn't go into effect until next season. So that's something to keep an eye on for Hawks fans. So yeah, we're at 49 contracts right now, and, another spot's open still for the Hawks.
Maybe for you.
And then Brandon Hagel, we had a little Hagel scare, but he's all good.
My
Those
boy.
sweet bagels. Can't let anything happen to those bagels.
Yeah. He had a false positive for Corona or COVID, whatever we call it now. But yeah, so he's I think he's back with the team, and you know, just he's our boy. Can't he just makes our file.
Our baby boy.
Yep, that's my everything, Hagel. You can't scare me like that.
No.
Yes.
Love it all, everything. Hell, only kind you get at the store.
Well, we can move on to the Wings side of this podcast for news this week. The Wings have a couple pieces of news this week as well. The first being is the fact that Evgeny Svechnikov clears waivers again. I mean, I was joking about it in our group text, but like, does Steve Yzerman just have like a secret gentleman's agreement with the other NHL GMs where he's just like, I'm gonna waive this kid. If any of you touch him, I'm going to burn you and fleece you somehow in a trade.
He's gone to every single one of their houses, and he's like, I know what I'm going to do may entice you, but if you do it, you're going to wake up with a broken hockey stick in your bed.
Yeah, it's like the waivers is the new offer sheet. Like nobody wants
No
to touch.
one's gonna touch it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, they're like no.
unless you're a goalie.
Yeah, unless you're
The amount of goalies that we've been playing musical goalies all throughout the league this year, third stringers that just get dropped down. And I think Anton Forsberg's been on like 4 different teams this year.
I'm shocked he's still in the league.
But Svech,
Yeah,
what
that's
does the guy have to do to stay on the team?
He has to score hat tricks every game. That's what he has to do, I guess, because he scored a beautiful goal in the game this past week that he played in, and then they waived him.
It's got to be a dollars and cents thing, right?
And what was weird was, like, I was on the Reddit page, and when like they had the wave, the Twitter post said, like, nobody felt like confused or worried. And I was like, am I missing something?
Maybe it's just because at this point you can't be surprised. I don't know. I'm still surprised.
Like, my thing is, though, like, I get it. Svechnikov does not have a fantastic two-way game. Okay, fine. Very fair criticism. But you've got a guy literally who's about to be gone next season. And he's got, UFA status after this year. He's, for all intents and purposes, gone unless you re-sign him. You're literally not even doing your club any favors letting him slide around like this. You don't even have a sample size, I feel like, big enough to say this kid's a bust or this kid's not a long-term piece for us. And I think that's kind of frustrating. I mean, I'd like to say that I like all of Steve Yzerman's moves, but this one actually has me confused of what he's doing with this kid.
I think you're gonna see a lot of him coming up because you've already had guys like Bobby Ryan saying like my days are probably limited in Detroit right now. Like those are assets that we're gonna see dealt off. But like, yeah, I think Svechnikov's really gonna have no other option but to stay up here soon because unless Stevie Y keeps shocking us. But yeah, it's kind of weird just to see like why in this kind of COVID season and let alone a rebuilding year, why not just let the kid play? Just see what you have in him.
Maybe he's just not part of Yzerman's plan. He's a redundancy potentially. Maybe he's got other guys that he think can fit that bill, or he's already got a roadmap. And at this point, why not just trade? You can still get something for him.
Maybe no one. I mean, we just saw him clear waivers twice. Maybe no one wants to trade for him because he's an unproven quantity. I mean, he's had injury.
Yeah, and I mean Stevie Y has no ties to him either. That wasn't his draft pick.
I mean, it was 2 weeks ago we had that tweet that we talked about where basically anyone's available except for a handful of people.
Yeah,
Literally, that was what was it? It was Dylan Larkin and the recent first round draft picks. Anybody aside from that was deemed quote unquote available.
Yeah.
We pick up the phone to listen. We don't have to say yes, but that just says something right there. Like, that's exciting and scary all at the same time because Yzerman could just be like, screw it, fire sale. Everyone must go. Give me your picks. Give me your prospects.
What that tells me is it's not the time to buy a jersey right now.
No. No, I've been down that road too many times.
Yep, you and me both.
I'd buy a side jersey, gone. Sharp jersey, gone.
Hey, I finally got my Shaw jersey. Oh God, there he
I
goes.
just saw during one of the intermissions yesterday with Tampa Wings. I forget. I always forget Patrick Sharp is on the NBC Sports
Yep.
broadcast.
Yeah, he's a perfect human.
But God, he's just a ridiculously handsome man.
He's
It's not
beautiful.
even fair.
He's a beautiful person.
I'm like, you could like have a black eye, and I'd still think you're like just a beautiful man. Not even fair.
What else is going on in Wings World here, Jordan?
The fact that the young kids like Giovanni Smith and Michael Rasmussen look really good.
I love Giovanni Smith so
Giovanni
much.
dropping them gloves. He was about to have a hat trick of just fights.
That's
Oh, you
so
want to go?
good.
We'll go. Okay, let's go.
The
And
thing
then
I love
Rasmussen
about
was
him
back.
though is also like Giovanni Smith is a fighter, yeah, but he's also like a very competent NHL level player.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
He's not just the grit.
yes, like he's not just an enforcer who can fight. He legitimately can contribute on the team, and that's big. The team hasn't had a player like that in a very long time.
He's not just like, Sean William Scott in the movie The Goon from the beginning of the movie. He's just there for fights. Giovanni Smith can do things that every other player can do. He reminds me a lot of Darren McCarty, where Darren McCarty was a gritty fighter, but Darren McCarty could back it up with goals. Like he had the hat trick against Colorado that one year after whooping the crap out of, Lemieux and others. So it's fun to watch, and I hope, if we do trade Bobby Ryan or Glendening or anyone that I really
Mantha.
enjoy, that he and others get more time in the main roster.
And you mentioned Rasmussen. Last week we kind of talked about tempering our expectations for guys like him and Svechnikov, but he's really coming into his own, eh?
Yeah, I mean, that was the
Nice
thing.
goal.
Like he was really billed as like, a potential big body centerman. The kid, he's getting pretty big and
Yeah.
he's starting to really learn how to control his weight and use it to play. And yeah, he's not getting, tons of goals, but you know what? He's showing that when he starts throwing his weight around, he can dominate play.
He can be tough to handle. I mean, his goal in yesterday's game was a putback where he was able to just knock it back in.
And then the last thing of like new, I don't even know if it's necessarily news, but it's just something I kind of want to talk about with the Wings. Even though they have not had a good week on the wins and loss columns, I've liked the fact that they have kept the effort. It's something that
Yeah.
this Wings team has been missing all season. They have been just so streaky with effort when it comes to their games. And this week, yes, they lost to the Florida Panthers 4-1, got blown out. Effort was not there. The second game, they absolutely brought it back, lost by 1 goal, lost to Tampa by 1 goal, and then they dominated Tampa. Why? Because effort was there.
Are
And
you saying, Jordan, that we're giving them 60 minutes of hell?
it's almost like there's 60 minutes
There we
of
go.
hell.
I'm surprised we didn't lead the show with the Red Wings being Tampa. First time in 10 years in Tampa.
In Tampa.
That's
February
so
11.
big.
17 straight games.
February 2011. I was fucking student teaching, I think, still. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, you guys witnessed history on Easter Sunday.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, he is
The
risen.
Red Wings have risen.
The Red- They fell in the standings, but they rose
Yeah.
against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
They rose in our
Yes.
hearts.
Yeah, we lost 3 games, 3 days, 3 games.
Confirmation. There we go.
Put it together, carry the
Sorry.
one.
Sorry, I there's a funny Jim Gaffigan bit, if anyone knows Jim Gaffigan, the comedian,
Mhm.
about Christian holidays, and that drunk guy must have designed them like, oh, what do you do? Oh, bring the tree inside, put the lights outside.
Yeah.
What about Easter? Well, color some eggs. What do you do with the eggs? Just hide them. What? Yeah, say a bunny or something. It doesn't make sense to me, but I love it. Sorry.
No,
You're good.
no.
You're good.
We have Hanukkah where we were able to make oil last for 8 days and fun stuff like that. So cool.
Nice.
Holidays
We
are
get-
crazy.
We get eggs.
Yeah.
May I offer you an egg drying time?
now more than ever. But yeah, Red Wings doing big things against Tampa.
Did you see? It was crazy seeing Tampa's starting goalie I can never say
Was
it.
that Vasilevsky?
Andre Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky. He's just sitting there on the bench, like looking up with his curly hair and his hat, and it goes Vasilevsky against the Detroit Red Wings, 17-0, and I'm like, oh, thank God he's not playing. You're the reason.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's you.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good.
I mean, he's
And the
one
goalie
of the
they
best
played
goalies.
hasn't had a start in 2 years. I think is what it said.
yeah, I
Chris-
think
Chris Gibson?
they're back up injured. I want to say right now.
I was like, so you're telling me there's a chance?
And you ran with it. You know what? That's the sign of a team that, you were given an opportunity. It was a small opportunity, but you were given a window and they took advantage of it. And I'm glad to see that for you guys.
I mean, what did they have, like 3 goals in a minute or something like that?
Yeah,
was
it was
dumb.
crazy. My father-in-law turned the TV on because he was going to watch the Caps games later, and he's like, "Oh, David's team's on," and he got up and used the bathroom and came back, and we had scored 3, and he's like, "Oh, is your team back again?" Oh, no, we're not back.
No. We do this every once in a while.
This is a brief glimpse in the just giant season of pain.
Speaking of the season of pain, let's go. Let's go ahead and talk about the week that has been for the Blackhawks and the Red Wings, because one of the teams.
Yeah. Neat.
All right.
Ken,
Well, we started
can
the
I
show
offer
with
you
the
an egg?
Blackhawks. We started the show with the Blackhawks, so let's go ahead and just start with them on the flashback this week.
Yeah.
The Blackhawks this last week was a 2-1 win versus the Carolina Hurricanes, a 4-3 loss versus Carolina, and then a 3-0 loss to Nashville.
You just can't beat Nashville.
What?
We can't. We can't. We can hold our own against every other team, make teams that we have no business hanging with, make them competitive games. We can't generate against Nashville. They suffocate us every game. I don't get me wrong. The Carolina loss was hard. That was a rough loss. I really thought we were going to at least take that to overtime. But Nashville, we don't have an answer. I don't know, Nick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating. Like I was kind of singing a little diddly over there, but like it was. I said it before the show, but like Carolina and Nashville play this very similar style, except Carolina's more skilled.
Right.
And Nashville's just kind of this gritty team that plays a suffocating game. And the Hawks just, I don't know what it is. They just don't develop great scoring chances against the Predators. And it's not like they're getting shots off, but it's, as Colleton said, it's like he doesn't care about shots on goal. He wants scoring opportunities. And it's infuriating that you can't do that against a team that you should be competitive against, like the Nashville Predators. They aren't the Nashville Predators from 2016. This is a much weaker team and not as high powered as they once were.
And like that's the weird thing, especially for Nashville. This past recent stretch is like you said, this is not the Nashville Predators of 2016, 2017, where they were just completely loaded on the blue line and the defenseman just controlled the neutral zone and kept feeding it to the forward group. This is a pretty depleted Nashville group. I mean, you look at it and some of the pieces are there, sure, but the majority of them aren't. And it's weird the Hawks can't generate against a team that's depleted like that.
To me, it's a reminder, and I've said this before, it's a reminder that we're not there yet. It's a reminder to temper expectations. You can see, Kane is still Kane, but you can see where the double shifting and, putting everything on his back, he cannot be asked to do that. No player, Crosby can't do it. No, McDavid can't do it. Kane can't be asked every week to just say, oh, just pick up all the slack and make it, or Lankinen say, just mask all of our deficiencies. We're getting there. We're seeing great improvements. We're seeing lines click together. We're seeing our defense making plays, taking chances, but we are far from a realistic playoff team. And when we hang against Carolina, it gives us that illusion. But these games against Nashville show we can't adjust and counter to a style that that seems to suffocate us.
Yeah. And Go ahead, David.
I just can't, like, with how we talked about Chicago before the season started, saying borderline playoff team.
Yeah.
Right. No. And that's exactly it. We should be thrilled right now with where we're at, but we got a taste of it
Yeah.
and we want more.
I mean, we're persistent on making the playoffs now, and that's all our mind's thinking about.
Yeah.
I mean, the second game, the loss against Carolina, that was heartbreaking too. You know, what was it? 29 seconds left in the game.
Yep.
Yeah,
Take
that's
the lead. It's just we've had like 5 games like that. 3 of them against Tampa and 1 against Carolina, and the other one might have been against Carolina too, where it's just like a last minute, you know, they
We
pull
just
it off.
can't hold on.
They deflate your sails.
But that's
Right.
like, it seems like our third period, it just nothing goes our way. The third period is never.
It's
what we're-
it's either the third period or the first period.
Yeah.
We either don't come ready to play or
Yeah,
we
finish
gas
strong.
out by the end.
Yeah. It's like
and-
they're killing a penalty the whole third period.
And that's been a knock. I don't know.
Oh,
That's
for
a knock
years.
I had for the Hawks, even in the dynasty years.
Yeah.
Was my God, would it kill him to play 3 periods?
Yeah. It's infuriating. I mean, again though, great. I mean, they battle against the Carolina Hurricanes, and you know, since we're talking too down on the Hawks, they look good Tuesday night with that win. Like,
Yeah.
31
Oh my God.
saves.
I thought it was great. People were clicking. You know, I've said it before. Boquist's growth on defense this year, for being a guy that looked real skittish in the playoffs last year, I feel like had taken a step or 2 back. This year, man, his positioning with his stick, his defensive awareness, all the things that people were worried about are looking so much cleaner. And you're seeing him make those and put himself in the right position. And that's allowing his offense, which is the thing we didn't have to worry about, to start to shine, because he's not constantly worrying about where he's supposed to be. That showed great. I forgot words. That really showed up in that win against Carolina, where you could see him much more comfortable.
Mhm.
like, let's not forget though, like when Adam Boquist got a chance to play at the NHL level, he basically got stapled to Duncan Keith, and Duncan Keith, when he's out, is usually getting played against top line
Best.
competition.
Yeah.
That's not a very good learning environment for a young player who was promoted not because he earned the call up, but because of injury necessity.
Yeah.
That's not a good environment to learn.
No,
I mean-
you're right. He shouldn't have been up to begin with. That was pure, oops, we've got a lot of injuries. Better get this kid up because the people need something to root for. You're absolutely correct, Jordan. He got rushed in, and the fact that he is where he is now is thrilling, that he didn't get burnt out and it didn't stunt his development. He learned from it and has continued to grow.
I mean, did you guys see like that crazy 6 spin? Yeah, it's from the boards. The crazy 6 like spinorama pass that he had from the boards, like that thing was beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's, yep.
That's what you get in them. That's what they drafted him for.
Yeah.
It's the only reason they drafted him.
No, I mean,
We saw your spinorama and we're
No.
very
Oh,
impressed. Kane was
you
a
guys are-
fan and we
I'm having Tomas Jericho flashbacks.
should I just mute my mic now or what?
don't you dare. Tomas Yurko, both of our teams had such high expectations for him.
The fact you guys got a 3rd rounder for him from us is criminal.
Yeah,
Ken
but we got
Holland had
we
some magic.
got Alex Regula for Perlini.
Yeah,
So
sure. It all worked out.
For every Stephen Weiss, Ken Holland made a couple good decisions.
yeah.
What are you guys there this week?
This this week the Wings. It was not a fun week on the scoreboard in terms of wins and losses, but like I said earlier, this was
To the
a week-
last to the end of the week.
What is it?
To the end of the week.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, like that was a thing though. Like this week was frustrating, but it was frustrating in the best way. Yes, the Wings lost 3 of their 4 games, but 2 of those games they could have been in that
Mhm.
that they lost. They're 1-goal games, and again, effort was there. That's the important thing. The effort was there. I mean, I've always told people, you're not going to win every single game that you play. That's just the reality of sports. But you know what? I think a lot of fans included have a lot of an easier time swallowing a loss if it's evident that the team is actively trying. And that's
100%.
that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
big takeaway from this week, even though we dropped 3 out of the 4 games.
Yep. And speaking of like sad and disheartening stuff, did anyone see the NHL's Twitter page tweet a video of I think Hedman scored the goal against us, right, for the last
Mhm.
game? The scoreboard was cut just right, so it only showed Tampa. So it just had the 1 come up, and I'm like, oh, you're not going to show the rest of the scoreboard
That's
where we
so
have
dirty.
4 goals, you know?
God forbid we show the Red Wings doing anything good.
Prospering.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like you said, Jordan, like a loss sucks, but it's easier to swallow when you know the team fought hard and tried to do it. You know, I've seen numerous losses for teams I follow, like the soccer team I follow, where we lose to teams we should most definitely be beating because they're bottom feeding, bottom of the table. They're going to get sent down to the lower league next year, and a win will put us, you know, cement us higher up on the table, and they choke, and it's infuriating. And like seeing the Red Wings last year, I wasn't really infuriated because I knew we were going to suck. I just didn't know we were going to suck that bad. Like that was actually 60 minutes of hell for us to watch.
For us.
Yeah, I mean, all before besides your Tuesday game, I mean, going again, getting 3 points out of this week for the Red Wings is a win. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's massive, and
Oh, for sure.
especially on the road too down in Florida, it's tough against those two powerful teams. So
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
good week for the Red Wings.
Isn't it weird that like Florida, a beach state that doesn't have ice, has 2 really good hockey teams?
The Tom Brady effect.
I mean, yeah, that's what they were hoping for, right? Hockey in non-traditional markets doing well. Well, what's good for the
Yeah.
league is good for everybody, I guess.
There
Something
was-
like that.
There was talks
mean-
of the Panthers moving, and I don't think they're going anywhere now.
Sorry,
No.
Quebec.
Arizona really should move though.
Yeah, hey, you guys try
yeah,
to tell
yeah.
try to tell Joel Quinville to leave Florida to go to Quebec. Have
Not
fun
gonna
with
do it.
that one.
Nope.
Nope. Not gonna
Nope.
happen.
Not gonna happen.
Well, let's go ahead and just do star of the week really quick, since we're already talking about, you know, the week that was. Tim and Nick, who was your guys' star of the week this week?
I'm gonna go with Dylan Strome.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's
you
good.
know, you got that dad strength. He just had a kid. He had 2 goals this week. So yeah, I thought Dylan Strome looked good. You know, and they're playing him on the wing now, which is I think it's important for him because we're clearly high on Kurashev, and you know, you got hopefully Taves and Doc coming in the fold this season and next season. So he has to work out on wing, or I think the Hawks look to move him. So promising start to the week though. But, and yeah, congrats to Dylan on his birth of his child as well.
Yeah.
Good job.
You'll love to see he scored in like the first 2 games back as a dad. I love that. And you're right. You know, the last time we switched him to wing, he didn't do so great. He didn't have chemistry. He wasn't fitting in right. And so people started to say, God, if there's no room for him in the center and he can't play wing, we're going to have to get rid of him. Him thriving on the wing and developing that chemistry on the wing is huge. And I'm very excited for that as someone who's been a very big Strome supporter. I am going to go in a little different direction this time. Going to choose a star that we haven't done on the pod before.
Ooh.
Wyatt Kalnick is going to be my star of the week. I thought the past week he has looked great. Got his first NHL point and assist. I don't remember who he passed to for the goal, but it was just a very smart,
Kubalik.
clean pass through traffic. Was able to get might have been Kubalik.
Yeah.
But it was a phenomenal setup and a taste of what we see when a young defenseman gets more comfortable to make that play. And then that game against Nashville, we lost 0-3. He didn't have a minus. I thought he played throughout that game. I thought he played a complete, you know, not a safe game in the negative of like he didn't take chances, but a smart game where he was in position. You didn't often see him out of position. He was making plays. I like the guy. I hope that we find a room for, again, we've got a lot of young defensemen that could be NHL caliber, but man, I like this guy and I like what we've seen from him so far. So in a week that wasn't the best week for us, I got to give it to the rookie. Got to give it to Kalanick.
I like that.
David, what about you? Who's your star of the week?
It was tough. I thought about a couple people. Thought about Ernie because he scored a few goals, and he's a good, gritty, low-line player. But speaking of gritty, I had the guy we talked about. Someone not afraid to drop gloves for the boys. Giovanni Smith. I love Giovanni Smith, and like we said earlier, he can do more than fight. But if he needs to, he will do that for the team, and I think that helped motivate us.
I love it.
To win. Like in the NHL games, you win a fight in the NHL video games, you get more energy for your lines and more motivation for your lines. And I think that's a real thing. Like I think seeing our guy go out there and drop gloves with somebody really pumped up the team, and we beat Tampa. So that's my guy.
All right. I got to give love to a kid who doesn't usually get it a ton. Michael Rasmussen. You know what, man?
All right.
The kid has been putting in effort. He's been putting in work, and it's showing. I've liked a lot of what we've seen from him so far this season. I think he's continued to take steps in the right steps forward. And you know what? Good on the kid. He's showing he can be a every night NHLer. And I like the fact that he's really showing he's going to be a forward who can use his weight much in the way that Mantha can. And the fact that you're going to potentially have him at center position, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He could be a very overpowering center, and I'm all for it.
Well, boys, this is where I got to part ways. Win, loss, win for the Hawks this week.
Win, loss, win. Okay.
Hey, I'm in 2
Okay,
weeks.
Nick, okay.
2 weeks. Nick's back on the normal schedule. Sorry, guys. I keep putting you.
Okay, Nick.
Hey,
Okay.
Get a win for us today.
All right, bud. See you later,
All right.
boys.
Yep.
All right, everybody. So that's the week that was for the Wings and the Hawks. Let's go ahead and talk about the week that's going to be. This is what we call the flash forward segment of the podcast. We talk about the week that's going to be for these clubs. So we started with the Blackhawks. So let's go ahead and just start with them again on this segment as well. So you guys are going to play twice versus the Dallas Stars and twice versus the Columbus Blue Jackets this week. Tim, what are you thinking?
I hate Dallas. No, I still do. I don't think Radilov's going to play again this year. And Roop Hintz, every time I pick him up on fantasy, he gets hurt. So the guy's super talented, but he's made of glass. And Jamie Benn is just not the force that we have become accustomed to seeing. To me, their best player right now is Pavelski, at least the most consistent and healthy. I think that we take both games against Dallas because I think that we're going to be kind of pissed off. I think we're going to feel real sorry for ourselves about the Nashville stuff and how we've been losing traction, and we can beat up a little bit. We can bully Dallas a little bit. So I'm going to take. Yeah.
So you're saying he's a Jamie has been?
Ooh.
Well, is he going to come find me and beat me up?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say it because I am afraid of him. I am a frail man.
He just smashes his screen.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get cross-checked on my way to the Jewel, but I think that we take one of the games in Columbus. I think anytime a team has been historically, down, they seem to find a way to reignite against us. So I think we're going to take both of the Dallas games, and I think we're going to take one of the Columbus games, and this is where we shoot a little bit more adrenaline back into ourselves.
Okay, Tim. Okay.
The Detroit Red Wings week that's coming up is going to be a two-game series versus Nashville, a 2-game series versus Carolina Hurricanes. You know what? I want to say we're going to beat Nashville, but for whatever reason, they just seem to be on fire recently. I don't know why, because again, we've all talked about it. You look at the roster, and it's really not even like a roster you look at and say, yeah, they're going to be for sure a playoff team. I'm hoping we win the Nashville ones, the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't think there's any hope of winning that gun.
They're so good.
I say we take an overtime loss to Carolina, one of those. I think we fight them.
Okay.
Nashville, I'm not a fan of Nashville after what they tried to do to Zetterberg. Shea Weber tried to slam his head into a glass. So Screw Nashville.
Yeah, that was gross. I agree.
I think we take at least one of them, at least, and maybe both.
You know, like I actually had like a really interesting thought. You know what the Carolina Hurricanes are? They're the Nashville Predators from 2016, 2017, except they have forward depth. That's actually, I think, the best way to describe
Yeah.
Carolina right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. That's actually that's actually not bad at all. Even just across the board, because they've got a phenomenal defense. They're ridiculously stacked on defense. They've got good goaltending.
Not like, and that's
Not all-star, but good goaltending that does its job. And you're right, they don't have any like, and that's not fair to Sebastian Aho and Teuvo Teravainen. They are like all-star players, but you don't have a Pavel Datsyuk, you don't have a Patrick Kane, you don't have, they don't have that absolute difference maker that when they're on the ice, everyone else just has to focus on them. They have a team of people that work together. That's what I've liked about Carolina for years, since Don Cherry called them a bunch of jerks. I love their chemistry and their team culture. If the Hawks are out, I almost got to pull. I hate it. I almost got to pull for Carolina because I like them that much.
There you go.
I think that's going to be it for the flashback and the flash forward. Unfortunately, this week I don't think we have any official fan mail. Just a couple of comment questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
So we talked about it, and we've talked about it before with Eiserman saying anyone's available.
Mm-hmm.
What trade would shock you? Like, wow, it would like just wreck you for a day.
Ooh.
I think I know what yours would be.
Now we're using the
method he has, yeah. So we're not getting rid of Zadina or Larkin.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify before I answer the question.
I'm pretty sure I know who you're gonna pick.
Honestly, I really think trading Philip Hronek away would be like the one that would shock me.
What it is. Yep, that's who I thought you'd pick. Yeah, I was thinking him, but I think Tyler Bertuzzi would break me.
I was thinking Bertuzzi actually, and maybe part of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Because he's one of those key components of our team, like the heart of the team. Like he is a guy that can do everything for you. He's a jack of all trades. And that 3-tooth smile always makes me happy. And if I see it in another jersey, I'm going to be very sad.
I mean, what about you, Tim? Like, who's somebody who, like, if Stan Bowman just decided bye, you'd be shocked by?
Except for like Kaner. Kaner's not going. Keith's not going.
And that's the thing. You right now, I think I would be gut wrenched. I can't imagine they would trade DeBrincat. But again, that would be as shocking to me as if they traded Hronek or Bertuzzi. The one that I've mentally prepared myself for is Strome, because I love Strome, love everything about it, like his work at his style, but I'm aware that that's a possibility. DeBrincat or Oquist would catch me off guard. I mean, I know that we're going to have to get rid of somebody on defense because we just have a glut. And if we can't use them, make them count, trade something away for them. Yeah, I think DeBrincat would be the one that would be the most shocking, but also a possibility, I guess, if it's as likely as Hronek getting traded.
Yeah, you can prepare yourself all you want, but it's gonna hurt. Like, oh yeah, with Stafford, with the Lions, like I kept thinking every couple of years, like the last couple of years, I'm like, he's not gonna want to stick around. Patricia's ruined everything, and then when like ESPN and them all like breaking news reported that he was gonna seek a trade, I was wrecked for a night. I was just laying there on the couch, like, I don't know if I want to watch the Lions next year. Like, it hurt that much.
Yeah, I absolutely get it.
You bring up Dylan Strome, Tim. Now, keep in mind the rosters of these teams. Imagine how ridiculously stacked either Colorado or Washington becomes if he goes there. You've literally just got like 1, 2, 3 center, and they're all good.
I'm fine with Colorado. Living in the DC area, I don't want anything good to happen to the Capitals. They are some of the most annoying fans.
But Washington would be interesting. Again, Colorado would be. I could definitely see it, but oh God, I wouldn't want him in the Caps, but I think the Caps almost makes more sense.
Like, could you imagine their center depth? They would have Backstrom, Kuznetsov, and then Dylan Strome as your third line centerman.
Yeah, because in Colorado it would be McKinnon, Kadri, Strome.
I would probably say he's playing third line center in
That's what
Colorado,
that's what I would guess. But I don't remember their bottom six depth. I don't remember their center depth. But
Okay,
the Caps, what?
Dylan Strome, DC is a really expensive area to live, you know.
And he just had a kid. He's got that big dog to take care of.
Go to Colorado. You have
Yeah.
beautiful mountains, marijuana if you want it, you know, all that.
I mean, we've
fun
got that
stuff.
here.
Oh, I forgot, Illinois did just pass that.
Yeah.
DC, I think, decriminalized it, and Virginia's working on it. Maryland's just like,
New York just passed it too. So the Rangers, they're
New York
good.
doesn't become official till 2022, isn't it? Like it's a year.
Oh, is that true?
I think it's like a year-long process because that's what happened in Michigan, Jordan, didn't it? Like Michigan passed it, and then it was like a year before like everything was good.
Yeah, there was like a year waiting period in Michigan.
Realistically, they might fast pass it for Buffalo so they can get through this current Sabres team.
Just light out of the dumpster.
Rasmus
Dahlin. I got some of that sick Dahlin nugs, bro.
Yeah. I got an ounce of that good Eichel. We have a lot of fun, folks.
But yeah, that's actually a really interesting question, David. I like
That's a great question. Yeah.
Because I think about that, like when we saw that Twitter post, that's all I've been thinking about. I'm like, if the Lions can trade away Stafford, what's stopping Yzerman from just like trading himself? Like, you know what? I'm going to become the new GM of this team. And the other GM's like, wait, you can't do that. Why are you in my office?
Tradesies. Sorry.
We do have just a couple of fan comments on the Facebook feed. The first one comes from Anthony Williams. Says Hawks are sad because beef sandwiches are outlawed.
Oh no!
What? They outlawed a beef sandwich. What?
Yeah, you know, that's the power of Chicago is actually in our Italian beef. We don't want that to get out. They won't tell you this, but there's a direct correlation with the success of Chicago teams and how spicy the giardiniera is and how sweet the sweet peppers are. So you've got to really be careful on this one. Make sure, you know, it's an extra dipped one. Otherwise, we might not get the win. That's just a truth from a Chicago guy.
And then the other one comes from Adam Darlin. He just says Nick smells like cheese. Which what kind
of cheese?
Because,
yeah, what kind of cheese?
like
If
what
it's like
kind?
a blue cheese, if it's like a blue cheese or a gorgonzola, those are little stinky cheeses.
Those
They
are powerful.
They're powerful. They're pungent. They stick in your nose. But if he's like a nice little cranberry white cheddar cheese, I could smell that cheese all day.
Little mozzarella, something like that. Yeah, a little Farmer John. You know.
I found, speaking of like you're talking about the Chicago foods, there's a place where I used to live back in Virginia when I lived over that line. Windy City Red Hots was the restaurant. It was a couple homegrown Chicago people that moved out to the DC area and decided we're going to bring our food here. I was so happy.
Yep.
I got it. They had the classic dog with the neon green relish.
The neon green. It's gotta be. It's gotta be unsettlingly green.
Poppy seed bun with the pepper on. Oh,
the sport peppers, baby. You're singing my song.
And then they had the beef sandwich, and I'm just like, I know it's not going to be as the same, but it's close enough for me.
It's not going to eat through the bag because the au jus is just dripping out of it.
All I need now in this area is a freaking Portillo's. I just want a Portillo's so bad.
There we go. Now you're talking.
Well, we can move on to the rest of the league news now before we keep talking about food. Because
great, now I'm hungry. This is terrible.
Because there actually are a couple pieces of league news to talk about. The first being is that half the Vancouver Canucks roster has tested positive for COVID.
So bad.
You know, COVID was going to hit this league eventually, and Vancouver just got hit hard.
Because they're not the first team. Both Buffalo and New Jersey were out for a while from COVID. And part of that, I know Rasmus Ristolainen came out and was like, yo, I had COVID. And it was some of the worst. It was some of the worst experience I've ever been through. The Vancouver one scares me because it seems like we've had a lot of guys throughout the league that have gotten COVID. We've had teams that had to postpone games because of COVID, but most of it we've seen is guys that were like, you know what, I got it. I could feel I was off, but I wasn't really affected. They had the milder cases. We're seeing a lot more of the serious cases with, and again, every case of COVID is serious because we have no idea what the long-term effects are. Did just want to say that. But we're seeing the immediate serious cases in Vancouver with guys that are just out. You know, they've had, the team doctors have done house calls to them. That's the part that scares me, because like these people are in the peak physical health, you know, their lung capacity is strong, all this stuff, and it's tearing through them right now.
It is. Did you guys ever see the picture, like when the epidemics first broke out, of that like weightlifter guy, like his picture of like before he got COVID, like all muscular, and then like he had like the feeding tube in and stuff.
Yep.
And he was, oh, I'm like, oh my God.
It's gut wrenching. I again, for what it's worth, thinking of everybody in Vancouver,
Yeah, for sure.
You just don't want to see this ever. And it's scary. It's scary for the league. It's scary. You know, I remember Vancouver passed on hosting the playoff bubble back, you know, whenever we did it last year. Feels like forever ago. But and they British Columbia basically decided, like, you know, we really are on a lockdown right now. And it just goes to show you that we might feel like we're close to this being over, but
It's not.
we got a long way to go, and it's no time to let off the, you know, to relax on this stuff.
Yeah. As of today on CNN, their tracker, it was like 18.8% of Americans are vaccinated. And that's still such a small number.
It's gonna take so long, and you can't relax now. We're so close.
Yeah, I'm estimating, because I talked about it with my father-in-law, because he was like, we think things will be back to normal, like where we can like go places and do stuff. I think fall. I think summer will be the big jumping point if we can make it to like 4th of July, because I know Biden had said, like, I want you all to be able to have, you know, your big family get-togethers for the 4th of July. He's not telling us that we're not going to be able to do it. He's saying if we can keep on the path that we're on right now,
it's getting the vaccinations out, and it's getting shots in arms. That's the only way forward at this point.
and people just need to do it. I know people that are like, I'm not putting that in my arm. Like, I don't know what's in that. I'm like,
we would never have gotten rid of polio if we had to do that vaccine today. Let's be serious.
No, for sure. And I'm like, think about the food you put in your body. Like, you go to this fast food restaurant. Do you know what chemicals are in that beef? Like, don't look at the Coke. Don't look at the Coke.
Again, I used to chug a low carb Monster every day. I was poisoning myself every day.
I haven't drank a pop in years. You know, we call it pop. I hate people that down in this area try to correct me to it's called soda. No, it's pop. But the PE teachers in my middle school used to do a project with the kids where they showed them the amount of sugar in all their pops.
No.
And Mountain Dew always just makes me go, oh my God.
Mountain Dew's like half the can.
Half the can. They filled up like a bag of sugar, and it's like, this is how much sugar's in Mountain Dew. And I'm like, oh my God.
To be fair, though, there is nothing better. To be fair, there's nothing better than a Mountain Dew live wire to get that gaming action going. You know what I'm talking about? Little Halo 2 and a live wire, baby. That's it.
I'm having 2005 flashbacks.
See, that wasn't me. I gamed with my Gatorade Frost.
But how did you stay up till 4 a.m.?
ADD.
Yeah, all right. You win.
We can move on to the other piece of news around the NHL.
Sure.
And this one actually really surprised me. Shane Gostisbehere passed through waivers.
Yeah.
For anyone not familiar with Shane Gostisbehere, the kid gets drafted, ends up coming to the NHL. Looks like, by all means, a potential top pair defenseman.
He was a Calder nominee that year.
Like, to make it comparable, the level of hype that he was getting was on par with Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Like,
realistically.
Honestly, like, that level of hype is the sort of hype that Shane Gostisbehere was getting. The fact that he passed through waivers and nobody claimed him, like, nobody. What?
Too expensive. Too expensive, and another year on his contract in the flat cap. I am convinced that is the only reason, because there are plenty of teams, Detroit included, that could have taken a swing on him as a reclamation project, that maybe outside of that system, outside of that city, he could be a bottom 4 power play quarterback, like we were using Gustafson for a little bit.
Honestly, I would have loved it if Detroit would have picked up Gostisbehere. I mean, like you look at Detroit's track record for these reclamation projects recently.
It's been good.
Brendan Perlini, okay, fine, didn't pan out. But guess what? Robbie Fabry panned out pretty good. Bobby Ryan panned out pretty good. Mark Stahl, not necessarily a reclamation project, but just as like a cap dump, has been serviceable.
John Merrill's been fine.
John Merrill's been fine. Troy Stetcher has been fine. Like Shane Gostisbehere is signed for what is it, like $6 million or something like that?
It's 5.4. It's 5 point something. It might be closer to 6. But
I'm looking at this draft, the 2012 draft. That was the Neil Yakupov draft.
Mhm.
oh no.
That was also the pick that we traded to Tampa, where they got Vasilevsky.
Don't remind me, please.
Oh no. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my God.
We traded Andrei Vasilevsky for Kyle Quincy, who, by the way, went to the Florida Panthers after he was done with us. To give you an idea of how good of a long-term asset that was.
Fucking Kyle Quincy. God damn it.
But no, like I can't believe nobody took a swing on Shane Gostisbehere, and I'd have been thrilled if Detroit would have.
If I'm being honest, when Nick texted that was like what, in the morning? I think I was like just waking up with my coffee, and I'm like, this is a made up name.
That can't be real.
Gostisbehere. Like, yeah, like waivers. No one's biting on waivers.
Flat cap.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that that's everything at this point. And actual salary too. You know, you've got a bunch of teams that aren't generating the revenue that they need to be or are used to. You know, salary cap aside, swallowing another 5 point something mil for another year in these times and in this economy, forget it.
In this economy?
A 5.5 mil a year bottom pairing defenseman in this economy?
But no, just it's surprising, I think, to see a player like that, you know, just have that trajectory of a top pair defenseman and just really just plummets. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Just
crashed
watching
fast
that.
and he crashed hard.
Yep.
like that's the thing that I stand by it. You know, like this league decline can happen very quickly.
You don't know. Right.
I
And
mean,
that's any of these big contracts that people sign. You know, I know people get on the Seabrook contract all the time, but I will take Seabrook's contract over Jeff Skinner any
Yeah.
day of the week. Because
uh,
at least Seabrook was still producing somewhat, even if he wasn't at his peak. He was still playing serviceable minutes and could be a third pairing guy.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Skinner signed for like 6 more years at $9 million a year, and
Skinner.
I think Kevin Lankinen has more points than him.
Skinner?
we always
Yeah.
say that the Buffalo Sabres is a dumpster fire, and I'm gonna keep saying it
It's a
because it's completely
curse.
true. But oh my god,
I don't know
Congrats,
what deal
Buffalo
they
fan.
made.
Congrats, Buffalo fans. You can have legalized marijuana soon to help dull that pain.
You're gonna need it,
but yeah,
and for when
like,
Eichel eventually leaves.
what does Buffalo even do at this point? Like,
Get
Is
new
our
ownership.
podcast just becoming a crap on Buffalo weekly podcast? I think this is what it is now.
Well, if they stopped giving me reasons to, I would. But it's their ownership. It's their ownership,
is.
management,
sure.
and lack of a plan.
It's like the Pepe Sylvia Always Sunny. This is their plan. It's just a wall with like yarn string across it. They're trying to figure out Stanley Cup. Okay, here's how we're gonna get there.
Their plan is it's just a bunch of first overall, like top 3 picks connected to each other going, win?
Underpants gnomes. Draft first round, first overall. Question mark. Profit.
Cup?
Cup?
I don't know. It just
Be
Buffalo.
it's interesting.
You gave us chicken wings and stuff, you know, but be better with your hockey.
I'm looking at the schedule. I think that's pretty much it for tonight's episode of the podcast. I can't think
Yeah.
of anything else going on around the league right now.
It's a slow time. It's that weird period before the trade deadline where it's that middle of the season slump where teams are just slogging through, even in a shortened year. There's just not a lot going on right now, news wise.
I mean, like the trade deadline, by the time you record next week, it'll have passed, right?
Is that true?
April 12th.
And today is
That's
what
when
is
I
it?
get my first COVID shot.
Hey.
Yeah, so today's the
Hey.
5th, so yeah, trade deadline is if it's the 12th, then it'll be on the day that we
We
record.
can do trade watch.
Dun, 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 trade watch. I'll come up with a dun, 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 trade watch.
Yeah, you're our Foley guy. That's gonna be perfect.
But yeah, I mean, like I think this week, like that's pretty much it for the episode. There's nothing else to cover. But next week, hopefully, we have some actual big moves for the trade deadline that we can sort of talk about because I feel like at that point, that's going to be
Big
most
moves
of
will
the
be
episode.
made by the time we're recording.
Yeah.
Oh, Iserman's already, planning it out. He's got him ready. He's reeling them in.
And Buffalo takes the scraps.
Like a
max
lot of
system.
these rebuilding GMs, they've got to have like a list in front of them where it has like all the other teams. It has like a list of them, and they're just saying to themselves, "I'm gonna fleece you. I'm gonna fleece you. I'm gonna fleece you."
Bobby Ryan will come back at the end of the season because he loves it here.
It's like the quarter you tie to a string and you put it in the vending machine only to take it back out again once you get your
Yep.
pop. That's Bobby Ryan.
The
And we'll
Vanek
take
method.
that back.
The Vanek method.
But yeah, that's going to be it for our show tonight, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in to this edition of the Stickblade Podcast. If you liked what you saw or are hearing, if you're listening to us later on SoundCloud, feel free to give us a like, a follow, a share, a retweet, whatever the social media currency of choice on the platform is that you're enjoying this content on. It goes a long way to help us grow and share this podcast with other people. If you want to get in contact with the podcast, there are a ample number of ways you can do that. You can either find us on Facebook and send us a message or comment on any of our posts. You can find us on Twitter. The Twitter handle is @StickBladePod. You can get in contact with us on SoundCloud. We're on SoundCloud. You can find us via the old-fashioned email, stickbladepodcast@gmail.com. We're on YouTube as well right now. We're on Apple Podcasts. Like whatever you use to get your podcast fix, we're probably on there. So feel free to give us, that follow, share, whatever it is. We appreciate interacting with you guys. When we do get fan questions every once in a while, it's a fun time, usually sparks good discussion. So send them your way. We enjoy having them and we enjoy interacting with you guys. It makes this episode and this show a lot of fun. But with all that being said, I've been your host for tonight, Jordan Linscott. And for my co-hosts, Tim Stampanato, Nick LePage, and David Barnhouse, this has been another edition of the Stickblade Podcast. You guys take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and stay safe among this craziness that we're still going through. And in the meantime, let's go Wings, let's go Hawks, let's enjoy some hockey, and hopefully we have some very fun news next week given the NHL's trade deadline. You guys have a good evening.
Stay beautiful, everyone.